Okay, so hello guys and welcome back. So this is another session on IDT. Okay, and specifically yesterday in last class we're doing composition scheme. Okay, we haven't gone much on that, but yesterday in last class due to unavailability of my notes, I was not able to go through it very uh, what I can say very easily. Okay, but today the problem is solved. Okay, I have those handwritten notes, so we'll go through that. Means complete note is correct, and we'll go through we'll try to complete the sums as well. Okay, so okay, anyone if means any kind of issues like screen is not visible or anything, do inform me because I'm new to this. Okay, because I won't get any idea whether you can see it or not. Okay,
Hmm.
okay, so so what we are doing, we were doing composition scheme, correct? And as we know that it comes under section 10. Okay, and so what ideas did we have about composition scheme is that it is a kind of what I can say a benefit to the small taxpayers. Okay, it is a scheme which has been introduced for the small taxpayers. Okay, which has made which is made for easy compliance and less records. Okay, because I informed you that there are annually around 26 to 27 returns that a normal registered person needs to file. Okay, and each and every account's details are required. Okay, for filing the return and everything. But this is a kind of scheme where very less documents are required. Okay, and in this there is a system like you only need to pay tax quarterly. Means quarterly means maximum in a year 4 and 1 annual, so maximum 5 5 returns we need to file. Okay, 5 times you need to pay the tax, means 5 times you need to file the ITR. Okay, now when we specifically talks about that, okay, it is for small taxpayers. Who are those small taxpayers? Okay, so there is a kind of 2 3 limits given in the act. Okay, how far we have gone through, the limits are 150 lakhs, correct, and 75 lakhs. For whom? For those suppliers, for those suppliers of goods and services, and in services also mainly restaurant services, correct. And so we are right now in section 10 subsection 1, which talks about if there is a supplier of goods and services, and in services specifically the restaurant or catering services. Okay, if the aggregate turnover is 150 lakhs, that is 1.5 crore, or 75 lakhs for some specified states. Those are 8 states, which are Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Sikkim, Tripura, and Uttarakhand. Okay, so if you have units over these 8 states, okay, so your turnover limit is not 1.5 crore, it is 75 lakh. Okay, and when we talk about the supplier of goods, so this supplier specifically includes the manufacturers and traders of good. Okay, so it's okay. Is my screen still now visible? Correct.
Yeah, yeah, sure. It's visible.
Okay, now I've learned it. Okay, so in section 10 subsection 1, where the turnover is 150 lakhs or 75 lakhs, we specifically talks about the manufacturers or traders who are only trading in goods, not the services, correct. And if there is a sole service provider who is providing services of restaurant or catering services, correct, for them uh, limit is 1.5 crore or 75 lakh as per the states they are registered. Okay, now if you talk about this section, this specifically this says that no service providers can avail this composition scheme except those service providers who are providing services for restaurant, correct. So in section 10 2a we'll see something. Okay, there is something written that for supplier also. Okay, they have given some scope because suppliers were very angry that why, just because we are making supply of services, we are not having much turnover, we are thinking us as a uh, large taxpayers. We are not. So for them, another conditions have been came. We'll see that. But there are few conditions which are given in section 10.2, okay, which you need to follow, okay, which if you follow, you will be eligible to get registration under section 10 subsection 1. Okay, so what are those conditions? Says that this scheme is not eligible for services except restaurant services. Okay, so specifically, because we know that section 10.1 is specifically talks about that suppliers of goods and services only restaurant. So any other service provider is not eligible to get registered under section 10 subsection 1, correct? Second, it says that supply should not include that good which are not leviable to tax under Dix Act. Okay, so any non-taxable supply you are making, and any non supply of anything which is not under the purview of this act, which is alcoholic liquor for human consumption and those 5 petroleum products. Okay, so if you are making supply of this 5 and 6 products, okay, then you are not eligible to get registered as a composition dealer. Okay, next conditions are very simple conditions are there. Okay, you are not allowed to make interstate supplies. Okay, why interstate supplies? Because it is for small taxpayers, so intra is the only limit for them, they cannot go interstate. Again, we read a point that they should not be registered on eco, correct? If they are registered on eco, they cannot go for composition scheme. Okay, and there are some notified goods, specifically 4 goods are notified. If you are manufacturers of those goods, you are not eligible for this what I can say, this composition scheme. So what are those 4 products? That is, so short form I have made that PITA. So P is for pan masala, I is for ice cream, T is for tobacco products, A is for aerated waters. Okay, so if someone is a manufacturer of these 4, whatever its turnover, okay, say his turnover is only say 20 lakh or say 10 lakh, okay, whatever it is, he is not eligible to get registered as a composition dealer. Okay, one point which I missed yesterday is that supplier should not be a casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person. Okay, when we talk about casual taxable person, I have given you a brief idea in the GTA services case, correct? What is casual taxable person? And if I talk about non-resident taxable person, okay, I cannot go through it right now in the detail, because when registration will come, we'll talk about them in details. But for right now, I can say that means any non-resident, okay, who is liable to pay tax in taxable territory. And whenever I say taxable territory in GST, uh, taxable territory is nothing but India, correct? Taxable territory is nothing but India. Okay, so these are the conditions. If someone who is a manufacturer or a dealer of goods, okay, and services, only restaurant services, he can opt for he can go for composition scheme, provided that his aggregate turnover in the preceding financial year is 1.5 crore or 75 crore for those 8 states. Okay, and to get registered or to get liable for register, these are the 6 conditions which one need to fulfill. Otherwise, uh, they won't be they won't be allowed to take registration as composition dealer. Okay, now there were a few things, like I told you, that suppliers started to they were very disappointed that just because we are supplying services, okay, you are not allowing us to get registered. Okay, a mobile dealer came up who says that, say I am dealing in mobile, but I am also providing a very marginal service of mobile repairing, correct? So this is a very common thing which everyone does. So just because I'm supplying mobile and my turnover is very below that, okay, and just because I'm giving services of supply, sorry, if I am supplying services, I am not eligible to get registered. This is not done, this has to be changed. So what changes were made? Okay, they bought something which is known as marginal supply of services. Okay, so what marginal supply of services? Okay, a person who opts to pay tax under this composition scheme may supply services except restaurant services to the extent of 10% of aggregate turnover or 5 lakh, whichever is higher. Okay, we did 2-3 illustrations in the last class. Okay, so what they are saying that government said, okay, for you guys, okay, who are marginally you are supplying services, okay, so for you, okay, along with the goods, if your supply of services is up to this limit, which limit, 10% of aggregate turnover or 5 lakh, whichever is higher, you are eligible to get registered under composition scheme. Okay, but who are not included over here? Restaurant services. Why not restaurant services? Because in 10.1 only restaurant services are getting covered. So except that, any kind of supplier who is supplying in goods as well as in services, okay, who are supplying in goods as well as in services, that person can get registered by taking this. Okay, so this is mainly for traders. Okay, so traders means one who trade on goods, so they can trade in goods as well as in services, correct. And in 10.1, if you remember, I told you that traders are also covered here, correct, traders. But which traders are these are the traders who only deal with goods, not with supply. And here which traders are covered? Okay, here traders are covered who deals with goods as well as services, or maybe only services, correct. But soon we'll see a section which specifically talks about services. So only service providers prefer that much. Okay, so these are for the traders who are supplying goods as well as services. Okay, and if so, for goods they have the limit of 1.5 crore, and 75 lakh means not only goods, that is included services, and among that services limit should be 10% of aggregate turnover or rupees 5 lakh, whichever is higher. If you are fulfilling this services conditions, then yes, you are eligible to get registered. Okay, am I clear till this point? Okay, then we talked about something aggregate supply. Okay, because continuously we are going through aggregate supply should be this, aggregate supply should be this. Okay, so what actually is aggregate supply? So there is a definition which says that aggregate supply means aggregate value of all taxable supplies excluding the value of inward supply on which tax is payable on reverse charge basis. So what they are saying that all taxable supplies, okay, all taxable supplies are included in the aggregate supply, but those inward supply are not taken into consideration on which tax is paid on reverse charge basis. Okay, and if I talk about, okay, so okay, if I talk about this section, so what does it specifically says is that, just a second, what it specifically says is that, suppose, so we know what is inward supply. So suppose this is Mr. A, correct, and he is purchasing some goods. Okay, he is purchasing some goods as well as he will purchasing some raw material, and then therefore he will make supply of this. Okay, so in purchase, so this is known as inward supply. Okay, and this is what, this is known as outward supply, correct. Why I am focusing over this point? Because this is very important. In sums we need to
Yeah.
determine what is inward and what is outward. Yeah, anyone?
No, no. I said I got it. Understood.
Okay, okay, okay. So this is inward supply and this is outward. So what it says that, suppose you are purchasing something which is covered under 9.3 or say 9.4, correct. Now we know exactly what is 9.3 and 9.4. Some entries are given. If you are, if this purchase of those raw material falls under those things, so what happens? You need to pay charge on reverse charge basis, correct. So suppose your purchase, your inward supply value was, say for example 12 lakh rupees. You purchase raw material of 12 lakh rupees. So what is being done is that you purchase for 12 lakh. So on this you will pay, say reverse charge, you have paid reverse charge, say for rate of 12%, correct. So this is also a value, correct. So what I'm saying is that, so this is also an value, but this value is not to be added in aggregate supply. Okay, this has not to be taken. Okay, so what does the word specifically means that all value of inward supplies are not to be taken is that any kind of inward supply, okay, on which you are paying on which you are paying taxes on reverse charge basis, you cannot take value of that supply. Correct? Okay, and what more they are saying that what more will be included, exempt supplies will also be included. Okay, export of goods or services or both. Okay, interstate supplies as well. Okay, of persons having same PAN. So means that everything has to be added which are on same PAN basis. So suppose you have 2-3 units registered on your PAN. So all those 2-3 units, everything, this taxable supplies, exempt supplies, export from those, any interstate supply from those, all will be included in total, and then aggregate value supply. The condition was the total was 1.5 crore or 75 lakh will be determined. Okay, and we know that this aggregate supply is basically of previous year. Correct? So if my financial year is 22 and 23, so my previous year will be 21 and 22. Correct? To check eligibility in financial year 22-23, we need to check 21-22, and that is the reason why, suppose in 21-22 you were not liable to get registered only, or suppose you are not liable to get registered under composition scheme, so you haven't exercised that option. So because you haven't exercised that option, you must have done some interstate, you must have done some export import, you must have made supply of some products or goods which are not covered under this act. Correct? So that all value has to be added, okay, for determination in 22 and 23. Correct? But in current year, we know that when we see current year, okay, these, if you supply all those things, this exempt supplies or export of good or interstate, whatever it is, if you do all these things, you get kicked out from this composition scheme, because in conditions we rate something like this. Correct? So what it includes? It includes value of exported goods or service. It includes the exempted supply which have nil rate of tax, and non-taxable supplies as well. Okay, all interstate supplies are added over here. Okay, are taken, and supply on own account or principal account, everything has to be taken. But what has not to be taken? Okay, inward supply on which GST is payable on RCM. Right now we went through this. What is this? Any tax, CGST, SGST, UTGST, ITGST, any kind of cess, if you have paid, if it is included in the turnover, you need to deduct the same. Correct? And one more thing which is very important is this interest earned on deposit, loans and advance. Correct? If there is any kind of services, okay, so if I talk about this, okay, I'll say that suppose I won't write it right now because I've given an example of this. Okay, so any kind of interest, because suppose someone had a restaurant business, okay, and he was earning so good that he started financing services as well. So when he will provide finance, he will definitely receive some interest. Okay, so if any interest or deposit or advances, okay, or any loan, if he is earning interest, so that is also a kind of supply of services, because in financing services. So because of that restaurant dealers were not eligible to get registered as composite dealer. So this provision has been made that this has to be exempted, and remember this interest, and remember this, that this interest point is always exempted for any, from, if you calculate any kind of turnover, this will never ever form a part. Correct? After this, after this, okay, so now mainly our today's session starts from here, because these were the revision of the last session. Okay, so what is it? So in section 10.2, in section 10 subsection 2, we specifically read about the conditions which are there, okay, for 10.1. Correct? Now it is saying that 10.2a, what it is saying, that it is alternative scheme for mixed supplier or supplier of services. Correct? So what does it says? That it is an alternative scheme under which you can get registered, where a mixed supplier means what? Mixed supplier means what? Mixed supplier means goods plus services, but whose services were more than 10% or 5 lakh, because if it would have been 10% or 5 lakh, he would have got covered in 10(1), correct? Because he is not getting covered in that section, he is coming to this section, or specifically he is only dealing in services. Okay, so again only for services has another section has came. What is this? A registered supplier who is not eligible to opt to pay tax under section 10(1) or 10(2). 10(2) is what? 10(2) is condition. Okay, so specifically if you don't write this 10(2), it's far more better technically. Okay, so who is not eligible to get registered under 10(1) and whose aggregate turnover in the previous year does not exceed 50 lakh. Okay, so for supply of services, okay, or for goods and services both, okay, where services forms a very major part of the supply, okay, so their turnover has to be of 50 lakh only. Okay, so if their aggregate turnover in the previous year does not exceed 50 lakh, they can opt to pay tax under this section. But what is the so what they will do, what they are getting, may opt to pay tax at the rate of 3% of turnover in a state or union territory. Okay, hold your breaths. What is this turnover in state or UT? Because till now we are only discussing aggregate turnover, aggregate turnover. What is this? Okay, I may show you right now that turnover in a state. Okay, I have given a full table what it is. Okay, so we'll go through that very soon. If certain conditions are satisfied, so what they are saying, some more conditions, like it was given in 10(2), okay, for 10(1) some conditions, but in 10(2) conditions are given along with it. So what is the same conditions are there? What is the difference? Difference is only that. So if I talk about difference, this is only the difference. This scheme is not eligible for services, eligible for services except restaurant services. Why? Because that section is specifically made for services, so this line cannot be copy pasted into that, correct? So that is the only difference. Okay, the only difference is engaged in the supply of non-taxable, as we read, who is registered through ECO, correct? Manufacturer of PETA, or he is a casual taxable person or non-resident taxable person. Okay, so conditions are very similar. Okay, so conditions are very similar over here. Only the change is services. Because why? Because here it is specifically made for supplier of services, so they cannot add that point. Okay, so what we specifically talked about is that, okay, so if I am to make a chart, okay, so supplier, okay, maybe in goods or services, or maybe goods plus services. If goods, only goods, then section 10(1), okay, you need not remember, you need not, you don't need to learn these sections, okay, these are not important. So what I mean to say, only goods 1.5 crore or 75 lakh, correct, whatever the limit it is. Okay, if you are in both goods and service, so what you can do, for you also 1.5 crore or 75 lakh will apply, provided limit of services. Okay, you need to fulfill those limit of services, correct? Now if you are only in services, okay, and you are not getting covered under this goods or goods plus services, so what you can do, that you can take help of section 10 2A, where limit is, okay, limit was 50 lakhs, correct? This is what we have gone through. Please confirm me once, because what I am going to start now will require a very clear clarity of this. You guys are with me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, okay, okay. Please keep confirming, because things have changed. Okay, app has changed, so means I don't know who is there, who is not there. Okay, I have no ideas. Okay, so we saw that if supplier is of only goods, okay, from him, for him, limit is 1.5 crore or 75 lakh, 75 lakh in those 8 states. Okay, if he is in goods plus services, then 1.5 crore or 75 lakh will apply, but limit of services should be there, correct. If limit is exceeding, then he will come to this section 10(2)(a) only for services 50 lakh, correct. Now you can have a question that suppose someone is going from this to this and he also have a goods, okay, so what we'll see, we'll see that goods limit or we'll see that services limit, 1.5 crore or 75 lakh or 50 lakh, what we will see, correct. If someone is moving from here to here, but here only services is given, correct, we know the limit of service, we don't know the limit of goods, so will for goods specific limit will be there of 1.5 crore or 75 lakh or for services, correct. Is it coming to your mind? If yes, then you are on correct path, you are with me till now. So if you remember last day I told you something, that whatever the lower will always prevail, because I told you that you over here, okay, suppose you have a unit A, okay, you have unit A which is registered in Rajasthan and you have unit B which is registered in Arunachal Pradesh. We know that this has a limit of 75 lakh, correct, and this has a limit of 1.5 crore. So what will prevail? What you need to check in aggregate? You need to check in aggregate of 75 lakh. If you cross 75 lakh, though your Rajasthan unit has a limit of this, it gets nullified due to this 75 lakh. So similar provision will apply here. So with goods plus services, your limit should be 50 lakh only, correct, because this is a kind of section which is made for only services, correct. If government wanted for both goods and services, it would have mentioned here, correct, because in law, okay, we only know what the law is, okay, what is the reason behind it, no one knows, correct. So we need to assume things, okay. So we got to see all the limits and all, okay. Now I talk that means we speak that composition scheme means what? Lower rates of tax, lower rates of taxes, correct, that's what we know. So what are those taxes, what are those rates, correct, okay. One more thing, in these services there is a specific section as well which only talks about restaurant services, correct. What will be the limit? Can anyone specify what will be the limit for restaurant services? Section 10(1) limit will be
1.5 by 1.5 crores.
okay, 1.5 crore 7. Okay, so this will be the full table because this restaurant service specifically gets covered under this. Okay, now if I talk about what these sections, for whom are these made? Okay, this goods is mainly made for manufacturers. Okay, and traders only in goods, and traders in goods only, correct. These goods and supply are definitely made for traders, okay, and you will see in tax rate they have been given a special priority, these traders. Why? I'll inform you. This services is mainly for whatever it is for supplier of services, correct. Now we talk about lower rates of tax. So what are those taxes, correct. Okay, before I move on to this taxes part, okay, there is one more thing which I would like to clear, that what I was going to say. Okay, okay. One thing which I would like to clear is that for eligibility, we do check aggregate turnover, correct? Aggregate turnover, correct. And we know registration is okay. Different registration is needed for different states, correct. And say unit A, okay, unit A or B or C or D, you have 4 units, correct. So what we do in, okay, just a second. What it is? You guys can see my screen? You can hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I suddenly heard a sound. Okay, so what we do in aggregate turnover, we do A plus B plus C plus D, correct? And we check the limit of 1.5 crore or 75 lakh or 50 lakh, whatever it is, as the case may be, goods or services or only goods or only services, correct? But so, tell me that for paying tax, for paying tax, okay, will A be considered separately, B will be considered separately, D will be, C, D will, or they all together will pay tax? If anyone has a clarity on this. For paying tax, will every states will be considered different? Okay, this is a bit tricky one, but yes, because why we are saying that different registration is needed. Why different registration is needed? Because for paying tax, A has to file separate return, separate return. Okay, B same has to file separate return. C same has to file separate return. D also. So suppose these all are entities of Mr. Z. So if he is registered, see, so for example, we know that A, B, okay, C and D, they all cannot get a separate registration. Like A is in composition, okay, B is in normal. We know that it cannot. So if it is in composition, then all these four are in composition scheme, correct? Okay, but for filing returns, okay, for checking the eligibility criteria, aggregate turnover, okay, in composition scheme, this is done, correct? But for eligibility, but for paying tax, A is a different unit, B is a different unit, C is a different unit, and D is a different unit. So for paying tax, you'll we will see turnover in that respective state or UT, correct? We cannot see for paying A's tax, we will not see B's turnover, C's turnover, or D's turnover, correct? Is this clear? If not, I hope it is not.
Yeah, yeah, clear, sure.
It's good if it's clear. So what I'm saying that for paying tax, A's separate return will go. So this return, this tax will be paid on what? Turnover in that state where A is registered, exactly or not? So that is what is written over here. In two way we rate something. Okay, turnover in a state. Okay, turnover in a state or UT. Turnover in a state or UT. Because for paying tax we need to check that state, turnover of that unit in that state or UT, whatever it is. Correct. And what it will include, what it will not, we'll see this. But you got a clarity that what does turnover means in a state means. In a state means whenever we talk about turnover in a state, you'll see that we'll always say we it along with percentage of tax. Why? Because for paying tax, that state's turnover or UT's turnover is considered. We cannot consider aggregate. Correct. We will check the aggregate criteria for eligibility, because we know all different units has to get registered under composition scheme. Okay, and it is a kind of benefit which is being provided to everyone. Okay, and it is a kind of benefit which has been provided to everyone. So it can means there cannot be any scope of exploitation. Correct. So you will see means you might be feeling that everything is so tightly compacted, everything is so means tightly done that if they are allowing, they are checking eligibility on aggregate turnover, correct, aggregate turnover. But whenever tax what is coming, payment of tax, whatever percentage it is, we will read it. They're always whenever payment of tax is confirmed, they will always talk about turnover in a state or UT, because here we saw that eligibility criteria is a very different thing, correct? Eligibility criteria is a very different thing rather than payment of tax. So for A's, separate return will go and separate tax will go, and that tax will depend upon the turnover of it in that state where this A is registered. So for B, so for C, so for D. Correct. So whenever we will talk about tax rate, it will be of, see, if I right now if I say that, see, here it will be total turnover. So this does this total turnover means that aggregate turnover? No, total turnover in that state. Okay, so everywhere it is not written. Okay, everywhere it is not written. So that's what is confirmed. Now let's talk about that what tax rate are generally. Okay, so tax rate is different for different organizations. Okay, for different registrations. What they're saying is that for manufacturers who are under 10(1), so 10(1), which manufacturers were there only of goods, correct? So what they will pay? They will pay 0.5% of total turnover. And when I say 0.5, that means that CGST 0.5 plus SG, sorry, CGST plus SGST will become 1%, 0.5 each, correct? So that is 0.5% of total turnover, which means 1% effectively. So one who is, so where it is, okay, so what we can do is that, okay, I have a chart for this also. Okay, I have prepared a chart, but when we are doing it over here, okay, so for this manufacturers the rate is 0.5% plus 0.5% is for separate, correct? For rest uh, for restaurant or catering services under section 10(1), okay, so what are this section? The specifically which are included in 10(1), for whom the criteria was 150 lakh or 75 lakh, correct? It is 2.5% of total turnover, okay, which is 5% effectively, correct? So 5% effectively. See, for services they're charging a bit higher, correct? So for this services, this restaurant services, it is 2.5 plus 2.5. Okay. Now they are saying that other suppliers or traders which are both in goods or services, correct? So both in goods and services means what? Only services one will also be covered over here, or only those are covered whose limits are satisfied? So here it is written, those who qualify the service limit 10% or 5 lakh limit, those who qualify that and they get registered under section 10(1), okay, for them 0.5% is there, but of taxable turnover, okay. Have a mark on this word. Everywhere it is written total turnover, okay. We'll see this also, total turnover, okay, but here it is written taxable turnover. So what does this taxable turnover means? That any supply of goods or services which is not covered under this act will not form part of this turnover while paying the tax. Did you guys got something? Okay, so what it is saying is that, so suppose I am I am making supply of alcoholic liquor, okay, alcoholic liquor, say 50 lakh, correct? I am making supply of say pita, any one of pita, anything of pita, say 150 lakh. Okay, I am saying that I am making supply. I haven't yet said that whether it is manufacturer or trader. Okay, so whenever supply word is there, always assume that he is trading. Okay, so as I have made a trading, I'll make it 50 lakhs. Okay, suppose I am supplying goods, any goods which is not exempt. Okay, it is say 30 lakhs. Okay, and my services limit is, services which I am giving is say for 5 lakh. Okay, so now is this dealer eligible to get registered under this act? So what we do for considering aggregate turnover, will anyone help me out? Is there anything which has to be thrown out of it, or everything will be taken from here? Okay, let me add that interest on loan is also there. Okay, say it is rupees uh, 190 lakh. Correct. Is this
Yeah,
has
interest on loan is to be excluded.
interest on loan is to be excluded? Okay, very correct. So what are the limits? It is 50 plus 50, 30 plus 5. So 35 means
135.
135 lakh. So easy eligible to get registered under
Yeah,
composition scheme.
yeah, he is eligible.
He is eligible. Okay. By which condition? Have so sub
Um,
services will also
less than 150, less than 1.5 CR.
okay, less than 1.5 CR. Shivam,
Shivam, we also need to check whether it
correct,
is 10% of the
correct.
10%
Okay,
of the
yeah.
aggregate turnover.
Luckily, it will be under that, but we need to, whenever you answer this, you need to check this 10% of aggregate turnover. Okay, 135, it coming 13.5 or 5 lakh, whichever is higher. So this is the limit. He is supplying only 5 lakh, so he is eligible. Correct. Okay. Through which route he got eligible? He got eligible through this services limit. So what is the tax he will pay? What will be the rate of tax? Rate of tax, they have said that 0.5% of taxable turnover. Taxable turnover. And let's say it's not there, but let's say it is 0.5% of total turnover. So what will be the difference will come? What differences will come? Whenever I talk about taxable, I mean to say that this alcoholic liquor, won't form a part. Correct. This pita won't form a part because we know these are specifically excluded. Okay, and one more thing, if you do supply of pita in this year, okay, so here, okay, I forgot it that we could have said that he is not eligible because he is making supply of pita. Correct. We know that anyone making supply of this is not eligible. Okay, but let's not go to that point of view now. Pita will not come, goods will come, services will come, but this interest on loan, no, it won't come. So what it is coming, it is coming as 35 lakh only. 35 lakh into 1%. So what is 3.5 lakh is the tax when we talk about taxable. But when you talk about total turnover, what is to be excluded? Now the things come. What is to be excluded or included? Anyone? Total turnover. So in this total turnover, okay, because we are calculating it for current year, this interest will loan will not come, alcoholic liquor won't come. Okay, for right now let's forget this pita is there for current year, because if you supply this you will be ineligible. Correct. We know that supply manufacture. Okay, one more thing I forgot. I told you that this means he is a trader. Correct. So yeah, this will also be included. Okay, and even in fact in taxable one also it will be included. Okay, I'm very sorry, I forgot the mine word only. Okay, so it will be uh, so what will come over here is this 5 plus 30 plus I think this is 50. So 80 plus 5, 85 will come. 85 lakh, and it will become 8.5 lakh is the tax he will pay. Correct. And total turnover, when I talk about total turnover, this will come. Okay, this uh, supplying goods will come. Correct. This services will come, but this interest on loan will not come. Correct. So it will again, it will be 85 lakh only. Okay, I don't know how I framed this example, but every is coming same only, but in book example is there. Okay, which is a far more better example. There we can differentiate. So okay, so when I mean to say that taxable turnover, it means anything which is not taxable under this act will not be included. Okay, just give me a second. Okay. So this is coming very similar to everything. This whole tax is coming, but taxable means what? If you are making any non-taxable supply, that won't be calculated. Okay, what is taxable, what is non-taxable, or what is total, or what is taxable turnover? We'll discuss that also. Okay, so what we saw that any manufacturer, okay, of goods, any manufacturer or goods, okay, will give 5.5% means 5.5% of total turnover. Why we are reading 0.5? Because we are reading CGST Act, correct? Section 10 of CGST Act, so specifically talks about CGST. 0.5% of total turnover. Restaurant and catering, we know it get registered at 10.1. Okay, they will pay 2.5% of total turnover, effectively 5%. Okay, when other suppliers or traders who qualify the service limit, it is 0.5% of taxable turnover. We'll park it aside. We'll have some more discussion on it. Okay, what is this taxable territory? Taxable turnover. So 1% effectively. Now one thing which we have covered earlier only, person covered under section 10(2)(a). Correct. Persons covered under 10(2)(a) means this 50 lakh limits. Correct. Those who are only in supply. So 3% of total turnover, effectively 6% tax they will pay. Okay, and what it is written in case of inward supply, RCM normal rate. Okay, so previously, okay, what was to be done is that, okay, suppose you are having this. I removed that one. Other that example I give, that 12 lakh was my inward supply. Inward supply, correct, and I need to pay, say for example 10%, that is also RCM. Okay, this was applicable. So there were many person who used to say that no, I am a composite dealer, okay, and this inward supply is of, say, for goods only, okay, so I will pay 0.5% of tax because I am paying tax. But no, this is not the case. Okay, on any inward supply on which RCM is applicable, normal rate. Okay, now you'll say that why normal rate? They are supposed to get a benefit. Okay, but that benefit is only for outward supply. Correct. Okay, now here is thing which I have made for your benefit. So suppose there is Mr. A who is in dealer of goods, and with dealer of goods I mainly mean to say that manufacturer or traders in only goods. Okay, traders in only goods. Okay, traders. Okay, traders are included here. Okay, so those who are only manufacturing goods, they will pay 0.5% of taxable turnover. Correct. Suppose if Mr. A is making supply of services, if he is making restaurant services, then he is covered under 10(1) and he will pay 2.5% of total turnover. Okay, and if any other services who are getting covered means 10(2)(a), that 50 lakh limit, he will pay 3% of uh, what I mean total turnover. Okay, I have only individually I have given it for CGSTs, so this will increase CGST plus SGST. And if Mr. E is supplier of both in goods and services, he is it is in law only that if someone is both in goods and services, he is considered to be traders only for goods as well as services. Okay, 0.5% of taxable turnover. Okay, exempted supply, non-taxable supply is to be excluded. Okay, taxable turnover means this exempted supply. What are the supplies which are exempted? Correct. Those exempted, if I talk about exempted, then there are, we'll read the exemptions as well. Okay, in exemptions chapter only there are some exemptions are specifically they say that uh, not eligible for composition, not for composition. Okay, we'll read over there. And non-taxable supply. And if I talk about non-taxable supply, one kind of supply which we read was interest on loan. Correct. So that is not to be taken. So this specifically talks about the rates which you need to. Okay, you guys are there till now, correct?
Yeah, yeah, Shivam. Okay. Yep.
Okay, when now we were having something that turnover in a state or UT. Okay, what does it means? Okay, so the line starts with it shall not include. So what are the things which has to be included? Excluded. Okay. Supplier from 1st April of a financial year up to the date when such person becomes liable for registration under this act. Okay. Just leave it for 2 minutes. Okay. Exempt supply made by way of extending deposit, loans or advances in so far as the consideration is represented by way of interest or discount. Okay. So this is not to be taken in a turnover of a state. Okay. Value of inward supply on which tax is payable under RCM. Correct. So very these things are known to us, that this interest received on deposit, loans or advances are not taken. Correct. Inward value on which RCM is paid, that is not taken, and it includes all taxable supplies and exempt supplies made within state or union territory, as well as exempt supplies are also included in turnover. Okay. So whenever we'll talk about total turnover, it will include both the taxable as well as exempt supplies. Correct. But when you specifically talk about taxable turnover, that means only taxable supplies will be covered. Exempt supplies won't form a part of turnover. Am I clear with it? Okay. Now what does this line says? Supply, it shall not include supplies from 1st April of a financial year up to the date when such person becomes liable for registration under this act. Okay. A detailed explanation is needed. Okay. So few things before we start with the example. Our current financial year will be 22 and 23. Correct. So our previous year will be 21 and 22. Okay. Previous financial year. Okay. In GST we won't talk previous year or assessment. We talk about present financial year or previous financial year. Okay. But I am habituated with PY, so I wrote PY. So suppose in previous year 21 and 22. Okay. Miss, yeah. Anyone? Chandu? Anything?
No, no, Shivam. I switched from mobile to my
Okay.
iPad. So,
Okay. Okay.
okay.
So suppose in previous year, okay, there is Mr. A. Okay, he opened a business. Okay, opened a business. Say on uh, 2nd Feb 2022. Correct. So in till his 31st March 2022, his turnover was mm, his turnover was let's say for example it was 15 lakhs. Okay. Okay. One more thing which I'd like. So we know for registration there are 2 3 limits. Okay. 10 lakh is there, 20 lakh is there, 40 lakh is there. Correct. So suppose he opened a business where he is going to make supply of goods. Okay. And one thing, for supply of goods the turnover is 40 lakh to get registered in that. Correct. So what was the fact that, see, in this previous year 21 and 22 he had a turnover of only 15 lakh. Will he opt for registration in this year when his limit is, when I say that his limit is 50 lakh, 40 lakh? So will he get registered? No, he is not liable to get registered. Correct. Now this financial year started. Correct. So this financial year started. Okay. So it started from here. It is 1/4/2022. Okay. He started supplying the goods. Correct. So say on uh, 31st of March, March, April, May. So say 31st of 7, 2022. Okay. His turnover limit was say for example it was 41 lakh, or let's say not for easier, his turnover was 40 lakhs. So now he is eligible. now is eligible to get registered. So with this 40 lakh, I can say that I can say this because his limit was what? His limit was 40 lakh, correct? Now I can say this. So suppose he opted, okay, definitely, and it is a practicality also, okay, once who just gets registered, okay, who's just going to register. So suppose he opted for composition scheme. Okay, now he again started his business, say on 31st 1st 2023. Okay, he had a turnover of 1.5 crore, correct? So what I said that, so what I can say here is that, array, what is this? Okay, so what I can say is that, okay, let it be like this one, if he wants to be like. So for this period I can say that he was registered, correct? He was in composition scheme, okay, and we know that one more thing we will read in section 10.3 and 10.4, that once on a date which you means your turnover gets over, okay, means you cross the limit of the turnover 1.5 crore or 75 lakh, okay, or 50 lakh, whatever it is, once you cross that limit, you are out of it. So from here, okay, so from here till 31st 3/23, he was registered, but he was registered under normal registration, correct? He took normal registration because he crossed that turnover limit. So what this line is saying, that supplies from 1st April of a financial year up to the date when such person becomes liable for registration under this act, this is not to be taken. So what that, supply from 1st April, so suppose, so he definitely started from 0, he definitely started from 0, so till 0 to 40 lakh, till from 0 to 40 lakh, this period he was not registered, correct? He was not registered. You are not registered for this period, and from 40 lakh to 1.5 crore he was registered as composition dealer, correct? So what was the turnover till which he was included? It was 1 1.5 crore minus 40 lakh. Why minus 40 lakh? Because before, till this 40 lakh he was not even registered. Okay, so what will be his effective turnover? It will be 1.5 crore, and as he is making supply of goods, so say he is manufacturing it, so he will pay a tax of 1%, correct? And in this normal, so suppose his turnover in the end was say 2 crore, okay, so till this period, that is 50 lakhs, you are registered under normal, and say the tax was 18%, you will pay tax on this amount, correct? So what they are saying, that for calculating a turnover in a state, okay, for the time which he was not liable to get registered, okay, that period has to be excluded, because what people used to do, they used to take 1.5 crore and they used to pay tax on the same. But what is the rule? Because till 40 lakh he was not eligible to get registered, so after 40, means from 41 lakh to 1.5 crore, he got registered, and he got registered as a composition dealer. He got registered under composition scheme, because at that period his turnover was not crossing that limit, correct? Now if you ask me that what will be in the next financial year, correct? So So in the next financial year, he is not eligible to get registered because his total turnover was 2 crore. Correct. So say for example, okay, let's just let me change the situation. Say this limit was 75 lakh. Okay, this limit was this is okay. Let's. I think you do not wants to get changed. We won't change it. Okay, so you got my point that this period's turnover when he was not eligible, he was not registered or he was not eligible to pay tax on composition scheme. Okay, he will not, this turnover will not be included in a turnover of a state. Yes,
Yes, yes, Shivam. Got it, got it.
Manshu. Okay, so that's what they are saying, that turnover in a state will not include that supplies from 1st of April of a financial year up to the date when such person becomes liable for registration. So in our example, 1st April was there and liable to be registered date was 31st 7 2022. So till that period it won't be counted, and from 1st of August, sorry, yeah, 1st of August till 31st of January you were registered under composition scheme. So this turnover, this period's turnover, which is effectively 1.1 crore, is what he will take as a turnover in the state and he will pay tax accordingly in that. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we will do right now is that you guys are okay with it if I continue, or a minute or 2 minutes break is needed.
Yeah, we can take a break for 2 3 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll just go to the restroom and come back.
Okay. So we are back after a break. Okay. So last what we saw was a turnover in a state. Okay, because whenever we talk about taxes to be paid, it is always on total turnover in a state. Correct. So we read that it will include it will include both the taxable as well as the exempt supply, because here we talk about total turnover, and whenever we talk about only taxable turnover, which means only taxable supplies. Okay, and what is not to be included, that interest on deposit, loan, advances. Okay, in value of inward supplies on which RCM is paid. Okay, and one more new point is here, supply from 1st April of a financial up to date when such person becomes liable for registration, in the same example that we saw. Okay, that he was not registered and then he got registered on all those. Okay. Okay, now we have completed section 10, 10.1, okay, which talks about manufacture of goods or services, specifically restaurant or catering services, okay, where turnover is 150 lakhs or 75 lakhs, as the case may be. For 8 states it was 75 lakhs. Okay, and there were some conditions given, that 10.1 is not applicable for supplier of services except restaurant services. Correct. He is not here, means that supplier cannot do interstate. Okay, that supplier goods should not be listed on eco. Correct. We also read that he should not be making he should not be manufacturer of those pita products, that 4 products. Okay, he should not be making any non-taxable supplies. Okay, so those all are conditions. And then we saw there is a marginal supply of services, which says that along with goods, if we provide marginally services, we should be in the limit of 10% of aggregate turnover or 5 lakh, whichever is higher, you are eligible to get registered under 10.1. Okay, and we know that 10.1 for manufacturers, the rate is 0.5%. Okay, 0.5% of CGST, similarly 0.5% of SGST of total turnover in a state. Means now I will not repeat the state in a state, because whenever I talk about tax, it will be total turnover in a state only. Okay, and for restaurant services and catering services, it's 2.5% of total turnover, 2.5% CGST, 2.5% SGST of total turnover. Okay, then we came to know about something, section 10.2a. Okay, section 10.2a specifically talked about that mixed supplier. A mixed supplier means those suppliers who are not getting covered in section, uh, who are not fulfilling the limit of supply, okay, that 10% or 5 lakh, or who is specifically supply of services, okay, so he is not eligible to opt tax under 10(1). So he can opt to pay tax under this scheme at the rate of 3%, 3% CGST and 3% SGST if his aggregate turnover in the preceding financial year does not exceed 50 lakh. Okay, similar conditions are there. Okay, and here the rate is 3% and 3%. Correct. And if there is a supplier or traders who qualify the limit of service, then it is 0.5% of taxable turnover. So taxable turnover means exempted supply, non-taxable supply is to be excluded. That's all what we saw. Then we saw turnover in a state. Okay, now we'll means I have not specifically written what section it is, but there are some condition as per section 10.3 and 10.4. Because sections are not important, so it's not written. What they have said, we know all this. Let me read it. This scheme shall lapse from the date on which his aggregate turnover exceeds specified limit. Okay, so what are the specified limits? 150 lakh or 75 lakh or 50 lakh, whatever it is. The date when this aggregate turnover exceed, the scheme will lapse from that date. Same we saw in the example that on this date, on 31st Jan 2023, he is crossing the limit of say 1.5 crore or 75 lakh or 50 lakh, whatever it is. Okay, then from the next day only, that is 1st of February 2023, he will be liable. He will liable to pay tax as a normal composition scheme. Okay, for the period till which, so okay, so if I say specifically, okay, so for the period which he is liable, he is registered in a composition scheme, okay, he will pay tax according to that period. Okay, but as soon as he exceeds that limit, so any up to any turnover till the end of the financial year, he will pay tax on normal registration. I have got a very beautiful example on the same. Okay, and one more thing, which is like a kid register composition supply is not allowed to collect tax. Correct, we know that in invoice he is not he cannot show taxes. Correct, and he is not eligible to take ITC. Very simple. All unit registered under same PAN must opt to pay tax under composite scheme. That's all we have read it so far, that same PAN, any n number of units, all has to get registered under composition scheme. Okay, and provision of reverse charge on inward supply shall applies as it is applies to normal supply, because we talked about that if you are purchasing some goods or services, okay, or you are taking any services on which tax is to be paid on reverse charge, so you will have to pay tax on that normal rate only that everyone pays. Just because you are registered under composition, that doesn't mean your RCM rates get reduced. Correct, very simple conditions are this. Okay, now here is the example, and this is a very beautiful example. Okay. What they are saying that details of an unregistered supply is given below. He is a dealer of service. Correct, means he is a dealer of service. What they are saying that Jan 22 to March 22 started his business 15 lakh. Correct. April 22 to Jan 22 25 lakhs. July 22 to October 22 40 lakhs. November 22 to Jan 23 30 lakhs. State whether he is liable for composition scheme or not. If yes, what will be the amount of tax he will be liable to pay in the financial year 22 and 23. Okay, so first of all, we need to be very clear with the year that our present financial year is 22 and 23, which starts from 1st of April 2022 to 31st of 31st of March 2023. Okay, and previous, okay, this will be current financial year. Okay, and our previous financial is 21 to 2022. Correct. So first of all, what we need to see that whether his limit is his aggregate limit is under that limit. So what they are saying that Jan 22 to March 22, this is the only which have given, and they said that they have started his business. That means that this is the period when he has started the business. Correct, and his turnover was 15 lakh, and he is a dealer of services. So what section will he opt? He will opt for section 10(2)(a), correct, and here limit is 50 lakh. Am I correct or not? 50 lakh. So it is 15 lakh only. Okay. So his turnover in the previous year was 15 lakh. So which is less than 50 lakh because he is a dealer of service. So I will consider this 50 lakh only. Am I correct or not? Okay. Is there any delay in the screen?
Yeah.
There is a delay, na?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Means
Yeah, there's a delay.
means is it creating any problem or is it okay?
Actually,
Okay.
Zoom is better.
Okay. So I'll try to go a bit slow. Okay.
No,
So
no,
in
Zoom. That Zoom video call is better.
okay, okay, we'll consider that. We'll talk about that after this session. Okay. So his turnover in the previous year is 15 lakh, which is less than 50 lakh, correct? So he is eligible, correct? So if I so if I draw a
Yeah.
number line,
Yeah.
if I if I draw, because this kind of sum needs to have this. Okay. So my starting date will be 1st of April 2022, correct? And ending date will be 31st 3/23. I think now the delay is fine, na? Okay. So previous year he was 15 lakh, okay. And one more thing is that for dealer of services, okay, registration limit registration limit is rupees 20 lakh, okay. Once a dealer of services cross 20 lakh limits, he is eligible to get registered, okay. And he is saying that he is an unregistered supplier, correct? So so at the beginning of this year he is unregistered, correct or not? He is unregistered at this period, okay. So what happens in April 22 to June 22, his turnover is 25 lakh. So what they are saying, April 22 to June 22. So say for example our June 22 is here, okay. June let's write it June 22, okay. Here his turnover is 25 lakh. So now can I say that he is eligible to get registered? Now can I say that?
Yes. 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 He has to get registered.
Okay. For registered, and he is getting registered as composite.
Shivam, sorry. Can you use a different color? Black and red are not matching.
Okay, okay, no issues. Definitely. Okay. So now he is eligible for registration and he gets registered, correct? And he gets registered as composition dealer. Okay. So what they're saying is that from July 22 to October 22, his turnover is 40 lakhs. His, so this 40 lakh, okay, when I talk about July 22 to October 22, so after June, July starts, correct? And till July, it is October, correct? Say for October 2022, his turnover is 40 lakhs, correct? So this 40, this 25 becomes 65, correct? Because till June
Yes.
the
Yes.
turnover is 25 lakh, and within this period, okay, no, let's take the example like this. Till October 22, his total turnover is 40 lakh. He has not yet crossed the limit because the limit is 50 lakh, correct? Now they are saying that till Jan 23, okay, Jan 23, he has made, okay, this won't be 30, this will be, say for example, so here his turnover is 80 lakh, so he definitely crossed the limit of 50 lakh, correct. I think I haven't mentioned the date when he has, so let's say for example on, it is Jan na, it is December, so let's say for November 2022 his turnover is 50 lakh. Okay, I have made another thing that in November 2022 his turnover is 20 lakh and I haven't given the last turnover. Okay, so say at the last of the year his turnover came out to be 1 crore. Okay, now we need to segregate things, okay, for understanding, correct. How will you segregate? See, till this period he was unregistered, correct. He got registered over this, and from here till here he was registered under composition scheme, correct. And after this he is out of composition scheme, correct. So what is the effective turnover? 25 to 50 lakh. What is the effective turnover?
25 lakhs.
Correct. Means I am talking about when he is a composition dealer, is 50 lakhs minus, uh, it will be 20 lakh, okay, because here the limit is 20 lakhs only, okay, just change it to
Okay.
20
Yeah.
lakhs,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
turnover limit, okay, because for framing the examples there are many things, okay. So 50 lakh minus 20 lakh, it is 30 lakhs.
30 lakhs.
And
Okay.
what the tax he will pay for this services 10 to a, it is, okay, not, will not write like this,
Mm,
it will be 3% into 30 lakh, correct, and 3% into 30
yeah.
lakh, it is CGST, again delay I think, okay. Why so much delay is coming? That shouldn't be the case.
Internet issue.
I think that might be so. Okay, that is CGST, and this is, come on, yes, SGST,
It's
okay.
just
So it comes out to be 90,000, and this comes out to be 90,000, correct.
yeah. Yeah.
But
Total 1 lakh 80.
so, but more tax is there, na? This period, after this he crosses 50 lakh, he wants up to 2 crore. So he has to pay tax on this also, na? Just because he is not in composition scheme, you will allow him to, okay, no need to pay tax. He has to pay tax. And this kind of
Yeah.
questions do come. So what is the effective turnover? Okay, now if I,
Effective turnover 2 crores minus 50 lakhs 1.5 crore.
okay, so here I need to see the screen and then I have to write. So here the effective turnover under normal registration is 1.5 cr, okay. We don't know the rate, okay, but let's assume that it is 10%, or not 10%, 5%, 5%, it is 5% into 1.5 crore, which is CGST, and it is 5% into 1.5 crore, which is SGST. Okay, so what it will come? It will come around. Uh, can anyone calculate it? It will come around 10.5 lakhs, correct? In all total, 5.25 lakh, is it? Can anyone confirm me once? Calculator is not with me.
5% of 1.5 CR, no?
5.25, correct? If I'm not wrong. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's take it 10.5 lakh only. So 10.5 lakh specifically means 5.25 only, correct? So this is the tax. So here he is paying tax of 1 lakh and 80,000, correct? And here he is paying tax of 10 lakh 50,000. So easy. So question was, he is he liable for composition scheme or not? If yes, what is the amount of tax? So the answer will be a kind of diplomatic that yes, he is eligible to get registered. He is eligible for composition scheme, but till only November 2022. Okay, and after that he is not liable to get registered. Okay, so the total tax he will pay, correct? Total tax payable is 11, not 11 lakh, it will be, it will be 8, 5, 5, 10, 13, 3, 12 lakh 30,000 if I am not wrong. So this is the tax he will pay in the
Actually, it's not 10.5 lakhs, Shivam. It is uh, 15 lakhs.
Yeah, 7.5 lakhs each.
like 15 lakhs, no? Correct. So it will be 7.5 lakh for this and 7.5 lakh for this. So altogether 15 lakh. So total tax payable will be 16 lakh and 80,000, in which in the financial year 22 and 23. You got the idea how it is being done. Okay, so this is the way. Okay, and in this is a kind of situation, means in practicality also this things happens. So it is like this only. So finally, for any composition dealer, now you can find out the tax liability. You can file the return as well. You just need to know that what is that form number. Correct. Okay. Now services provided by OID, where is there? Okay. So you guys are with me till now, till this illustration, correct? It is clear to all.
Yeah. Yes, yes, Shivam. Yep.
Okay. I'll add a page and I will add the line that we need to write. Okay. While providing with the PDF, I will add that line statement because space is not there. So for right now, I'm not adding it. We need to write it like this. Yes, he is eligible. Okay. First of all, yes, he has to get uh, registered under GST, and he can opt for composition scheme because his last year because he's just getting registered. Okay, so his turnover is not above 50 lakhs, but on November 2022 he crosses his composition scheme limit. So from uh, 1st December till 31st 3 2023 he is liable to pay tax on normal basis. After that, I mean, that will be all the conclusion of this. Okay, I'll modify this as well. Okay, I'll modify this question as well. Okay, so now it is a kind of what tax is to be paid. Okay, so what is this? First of all, they're saying that supplier is a manufacturer whose normal rate is 18%. His aggregate turnover in the previous year is 120 lakh, and his turnover in the current year is 149 lakh. So what will the rate of tax? So why aggregate turnover is given? Aggregate turnover is given to determine that whether he is liable for composition scheme in this year or not. Correct. And with aggregate turnover of current year, because at what times we need to check the aggregate turnover? At previous year, so as to confirm whether this year we are eligible or not. And for this year also we need to calculate the aggregate turnover, because at any day in this current year, if I cross that limit, I'll be thrown out of the composition scheme. Correct. That is what we read in this condition. It is here.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
scheme shall lapse from the date. They're saying the date, not even the month, not even the year. Okay, and one more thing, this composition scheme is an option which every year you have to opt it. Okay, you can opt it every year because for every year your turnover will be different, correct? So at 1 year it may be possible you are not eligible, at second year it may be possible that you are eligible. Okay, so what they're saying that a manufacturer who has the aggregate turnover of 120 lakh in the previous year. So what was the turnover limit? 150 lakhs, correct? Considering that it is not in those 8 states, so he is eligible, and in current year also he has only 149 lakh, which means that he can pay tax, means his whole tax will be payable on composition scheme, correct or not?
Yes, yes.
So here the tax liability will be like uh, 0.5% into 149 lakh and 0.5% into 149 lakh. So this will be the tax payable to him, correct? Okay, let me do one thing just to make it more interesting. Let me make it 130 lakh and let's make it 160 lakh. Okay, so tax you just calculate it, or I'll calculate it, or I'll put it, but I'm not calculating it right now. Okay, now again a case comes when last year turnover is 130 lakhs. So is he eligible in the current year? Because he is a manufacturer, so 10(1) will apply. So 150 lakhs will be the limit. He is eligible, but in current year he is having a turnover of 160. So what will be the case? Can anyone help me out?
He has to pay the tax as per the normal scheme
As per the
because in
normal,
current year it is 160 lakhs,
correct.
more than 150 lakhs.
Himanshu, any other point of view? You have any another point of view?
No, Shivam. Actually, I still need to watch the missed videos, so I'm not getting 100%.
Okay, okay. So, Chandrakant,
Yeah.
you are corrected to a bit extent, but not fully. Because why? In this example, when we saw that he is he is covering this limit. That means in current year he is eligible. Correct. In current year he is eligible. Okay, and in so when you're saying that he's eligible in the current year, that means definitely he has got registered as a composite dealer, but he crossed the limit. So maybe at some point in the year only he must have crossed it, correct? So tax
Yeah.
will be like 1% of 150 lakh, means what is zero point 0.5 and zero point 0.5 plus say 18% is there. So 18% of that rest 10 lakh which extra is coming. Did you got it?
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Did you
Understood.
got it?
Yes.
Why I have given this example, to
Yes,
get a
yes.
bit grip on this, that what really has to be done. Because
Yeah,
if he
yeah.
is
Correct.
crossing this
Got it.
limit, because in the same example we saw that he crossed the limit, he went up to 1 crore, but till 50 lakh he
Mm-hmm.
was eligible to pay tax on that amount.
Yeah, yeah. Correct.
Himanshu, did you got it now? If not, no issues.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
not, no
not
issues.
100%, but maximum extent.
Okay. Now next what they are saying that services are there. So whenever service will come, what will be the limit? 50 lakhs. Correct. So in the previous year his turnover was 69 lakh. Okay. Will he be eligible for this year?
Only if his supply of services reduces
No, only
and it
services.
comes to 50 lakhs.
So he won't be, correct. Now
Ah,
your answer will prevail that as his last year transaction was more than 50 lakh, because we checked previous
yes.
year turnover, aggregate turnover, it's crossing the limit, so he cannot get registered under composition scheme. Now what he need to do
Yes,
is
yes.
he has to pay tax on normal basis, 12% of 120 lakh.
120 lakhs.
because
Yeah.
previous only he was not eligible. So we cannot say
Yeah.
that till 50 lakh he will pay this, then this. Correct. Next was is
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
Next one is simple. 49 lakh he is eligible. Still now 49 lakh he is still eligible. So it is simple.
Yeah.
And services, what was the rate for
Five
composition scheme?
percent.
Huh?
5%. Point two
This
five. 0.25 and 0.25.
0.25, 0.25. Correct. But this services is what? Which assumption did we take? We took 50 lakh, na?
Okay, so this is 6%. Sorry.
This is 6%.
I think,
Okay.
yeah,
See,
the restaurant is 5% and other services are 6%.
correct. See, because this example is framed by me, so I know that which services, in which services thought I put it. Okay. But in exam, if this comes, you can take it at any way, and you can assume anything, you can write anything. You took it as restaurant service. Now see, he is eligible, you will pay 5% of. Correct. If you think it as a restaurant service, this limit will be 1.5 crore. He is eligible, and still he is eligible. He will be eligible for all. See, because everything is
Yes,
less than.
correct.
But we assume it as a 50 lakh fund. So here the tax rate was
Yeah,
3% plus 3%
3% plus 3%. Yeah,
of
yeah.
49 lakh. Correct. Now see. Okay. Now it is. Now I'll have separate attention on you. Last year was 49 lakh. Is he eligible in the current year? Yes, because it is less than 50 lakhs.
Mm,
Correct. Now he is on
yeah.
61 lakh. So what will be the tax?
Yes, same like what we did above. So 6% on 49 lakhs,
No, 50 lakhs.
and then 6% on 50 lakhs plus 12% on how much was
11.
61 lakhs,
11 lakh.
11 lakhs.
Correct. You got it. I think now you have got it. If you
Yeah,
got
yeah.
this table, then there is no scenario which will stop you. Correct. Okay. Now it is written trader of pita and manufacturer of pita. So we know trader is allowed, and pita, in pita all the four items were goods only. Correct. So
Yes,
goods
yes.
means 150 lakh. So 140, yes,
Yeah,
he is eligible. 120, he is still eligible. So what will be the
yeah,
tax?
yeah.
1% of
One
120 lakh,
1%, 1% on the turnover. Yeah, 1% on 120 lakhs.
120 lakhs. Now 159 lakh is not eligible.
Yeah.
139 lakh, because he was not eligible in the previous year, so he will pay tax on normal. So I haven't given the rate. Okay. So let's assume this rate is also 18%. So it will be 18% of 139
One
lakhs.
139 lakhs. Yes.
Correct. Now they are saying that manufacturers of pita, manufacturers of pita, 29 lakh, 49 lakh. What it will be?
Manufacturer of pita will not get composition benefit.
Correct. So these goods also have a tax liability of 18%. In fact, tobacco and that items are of 28%. Okay, so let's take a normal at 18%. So 18% of
18% on 49 lakhs.
49 lakhs. Okay, so this is an message to all those who are seeing it in recording also. If you are still not clear with this table, please do come to me. Okay, because this table is die hard important for you for this composition scheme, because everything is over here. Okay, and if I am not wrong, because Chandrakant has got it, you give him any question, he will answer it, because this table is what everything it says about everything, how things will go on, how aggregate turnover matters for the current year, and how current year turnover, if it crosses the limit, how is to be treated. Okay, now there is a simple section of 10 subsection 5 which says that penalty for contravention. Okay, so what does it says that If a registered person has paid taxes as per composition scheme, though he was not eligible for the said scheme, the person would be liable to penalty as per section 73 or 74 of CGST Act. Okay, in the law only they haven't said anything. So section 73, 74 will come in the penalty chapter. Okay, for now, just for information purpose, I can inform you the limit is 10 lakh to 1 crore, but there are different situations. Okay, so we need not to discuss it right now. Just remember 10 lakh to 1 crore, any amount penalty can be there as the case may be, because there are 7-8 cases of different things. So penalty will be uh, opposed to, means penalty will be levied at such rate as the case may be. Okay, so if I talk about the chapter is up to here only. Okay, and this OIDR service, okay, this is of IGST Act. Why it is on IGST Act? I'll have a discussion on the same. Okay, so
Sure.
if hmm,
Sure. Sure. This 10 lakhs to 1 crore, what is it talking about?
penalty, penalty paid means any penalty can be imposed which can amount from 10 lakh to 1 crore. Okay, under section 73 or 74. Okay, if I have to give you a bit more information, 73 section applies at the places where it is not done, it is unintentional. Okay, and but not for fraud purpose or misrepresentation. Okay, but 74 is where it can be seen that he has done it with a purpose to avoid tax. Correct. So much harder penalties are levied in section 74, but in 73 penalty is definitely levied, but not as much as compared to 74. So section 10(5) simply says that penalty will be there. Suppose you have paid taxes through composition scheme, but you are not eligible. Correct. So it is very true that government will then only not come to know. Na? It will take some time. Correct. And if you keep on repeating that mistake, so penalty will be levied on you. Okay, and penalties means what penalty will be liable as per 73 or 74, amount may be 10 lakh to 1 crore. It is less than that also, not even 10 lakh also. In minimal cases there is 1 lakh also. Whatever it is, we'll read in penalty chapter. Okay, because different cases are there that will form a different part of discussion right now. Okay, so that's all for the chapter purpose. Okay, services of OIDAR. Okay, this is very important thing. Okay, it has came very recently. Okay, till now in this thing, if any places you guys feel like that you are not well acquainted with, I can repeat it right now only, or you would like to go through it and then we'll come back to me. Anything you say. And if you say that let's not continue idea right now today, I have no issue, I can stop over here also. You can go through the videos, and on Saturday whenever we'll have the practice session on this same, because maths illustrations are still left, we can discuss this at that time, whatever you guys say.
Shivam,
Okay.
for this last table, we need to, means, especially I need to go through all the lectures which I missed. Then only I can understand because I didn't understand this table. I'm asking.
This table, but you were okay last session also, you are not there, correct, if I'm not wrong?
Last session, Saturday, I was there.
So Saturday we did it only. Okay, no issue. You go through video. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll stop the recording over here. Okay, we won't discuss further. This OIDR along with the illustrations that are given in MAT, we'll pick it up at maybe Saturday or maybe from tomorrow only, next session only. Okay, so we'll keep the video up to over only here only. Okay, so you guys go through it. Notes will be provided to you by today midnight only. Okay, so. So I can say that that's all for today. Okay, we'll meet in next session. Okay, thank you all.